Hello everybody, welcome to the Sound Test Room. Today we are taking a look at Cherry Audio's flagship synth, the GX-80, which is a hybrid of two classic Yamaha synths, legendary you may say, the GX1 and the CS80. Right, so GX1 came out around the early 70s and cost around $60,000 or something, and I don't think they made that many. And then the CS80 came out a little bit later, and that was used by like tons of people. But the GX1 was also used by people like ABBA, Stevie Wonder. This is going to be a complete tutorial for the synth. Hopefully by the end of it you'll know how to program this thing. It's actually really easy to program once you get your head around the way it was originally designed. Like I said, this is two synthesizers in one, right? But they're blended between two layers, but each of the layers is the same. So you can have single layer here. This is a layer mode. You can have single layer, you can have dual layer, and you'll see you've got upper and lower now. So upper layer is bordered in white, lower layer is bordered in orange, but they are both exactly the same synth. And this is easily provable down to everything, all the effects, the whole thing. So for example, you can see all the settings I've got here, effects on and stuff. As soon as I switch to the lower layer, you'll see everything changes. So they're completely independent, even the effects. But you can have the effects global, so both layers share the same effect. So it's basically four big oscillators in one synth, okay, with tons of stuff you can do. All right, we're going to mainly concentrate on the single layer, because once you know the single layer, the first layer, you'll know how to program the second layer. So before I get into this, there's an initial patch and explain how everything works. This is the kind of cool sound you can make. This is one of mine. I've been programming it for a few days. So it's very, very Vangelis-y type sound. And the CS80 had a very distinctive kind of vibe that's practically impossible to reproduce on anything else. I think Cherry Audio have absolutely nailed it here. I'd like to thank Cherry Audio, of course, for sending me the synth for making a demo. But I mean, they're not paying me, and all my opinions are my opinions, and I haven't seen the video, so. Right, okay. So that's the kind of very, very cool stuff you can do. Right, so first of all, what's great about all the Cherry Audio stuff is it has this new switch at the top. So you hit this and we're now into an initial patch. You also have this cool focus here, which allows you to zoom in and scroll around the synth and work on the parts that you want to work on. So before I get into let's just unset that. Before I get into programming the synth, I'm going to explain a few things. I want to start with this section here, which is the global controls for the two layers. Okay, so you can think of 1 and 2 as rank 1 and rank 2. That's what they call them, or it's basically oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, but they are completely independent synthesizers. Their own filters, their own amp envelopes, everything. It's all completely independent. Okay, so you have a lot of power there straight away. Starting with this section, let's zoom in. I am going to use this. Here's my initial patch. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to go to focus here and scroll down till we see this first section here. So this is the master pitch. And this is the master pitch for both of the layers. Okay. You can detune layer 1 and layer 2 here. Right. if I scroll along here like this, you will see this mix section. This mixes between layer 1 and layer 2. We're going to get into the oscillators and stuff, so you know you're going to know everything. But so if I blend these two together, let's leave them blended for now. We can detune them here. Okay, and then next to this we have the ring modulator. Right, okay, so I'm going to play a note. This is the speed, the depth. Now the depth won't do anything until I start to introduce attack time and decay time. If I put all them back to 0 and bring up the attack, it'll attack very fast and then it'll decay almost immediately. But if I have the decay time set like this, and this is the depth of that, the attack and decay time. So that's your ring modulator, okay? Next to this, we have the sub-oscillator. Now, the sub-oscillator is the LFO, okay? So, for example, we've got the oscillators, the filter, and the amplifiers. So the oscillators, if I bring this up, this is going to start to modulate the pitch. Okay, so, and then you can sync it to the BPM of your host, in this case Cubasis, or you can have it free running. This is the filter. Now you're not going to hear any modulation on the filter until I start to do some filter cutting. And then we have the amp, which is basically like a tremolo. So if we do the two that we can hear, you have different shapes here. So and then noise, you can use the noise as the modulation source. So next to this, we have, let's move this along a little bit. Next to this, we have the octave range selector kind of vibe. So layer 2, layer 1. And next to this, we have the tone selector. These were kind of the presets that were on the originals. So you could select, say, if we just go to mix 1, you've got Funky 3. And then we could blend in, say, and these were kind of presets. You can see everything's changing. You've also got this utility section where you can copy a rank. So remember, these are called ranks. You can copy a rank to another rank. You can reset a rank to what it originally was. You can swap what rank 1 and rank 2. Just stuff you can mess around with. You also have the user section, right? So if I make some adjustments to say, I'll do rank 2 because we've got 1 to 11 for rank 1 and 1 to 11 for rank 2. Now, these won't remember effects. All this will do is recall. We do have like over 400 presets, but all the tone selectors will do is recall the rank, okay? Like just like on the original. So, for example, if I select, let me mess around with this. Change some. Just make some adjustments there. And I right click on this one and go, right, save rank 2 sound. If I go to my panel, user setting and change this now. So I've changed rank 2 to a harpsichord, but if I now go to user and select, it's changed it back to what I had it set on. But it only remembers the actual rank. Okay, so let's go back to the main settings and let's reset this and go back to a new preset. Right. Let's look at this section now, the mix section. So mix, obviously, this mix between rank 1 and rank 2. The Brilliance is an overall filter for ranks 1 and 2. But you still have really cool filters on ranks 1 and 2 separately, independently. The resonance, again, is a global resonance for 1 and 2. Now, no matter what you do on this synth, you're not going to get screaming resonance. It just wasn't designed to do that. So. Then you have your touch response, right? So this, it's linked kind of to the sub-oscillator. Let's see if we can get both of those in view at the same time. Let's just see. I don't think I can. Well, more or less I can. But look, pitch bend. This is a pitch modulator that pitches the pitch up. It's classic for the CS80 sound, right? So, hear that? If I turn it off, do that whoop, whoop. Okay, now this is related to aftertouch. Okay, so if I turn the VCO up, it's going to modulate the pitch. If I push harder on my keyboard, now obviously you need a keyboard that has aftertouch, so hear that? Now, to get this to work, you don't need to have any of this stuff up. However, the speed is related to it. So I'll press on the keyboard hard so it starts to vibrate. But then I can go back to this one and make further adjustments to the sound. And it's the same with the filter. Again, until I start making adjustments to the filter, you're not really going to hear that. So that's that. Let's turn that off for a sec. There we have keyboard control. This is quite self-explanatory. If I play down the bass end of the keyboard, in fact, what I'll do is turn the layer level up. Okay, so this is a layer, not the ranks. This is like we're in single layer mode now, but this would blend like a mix between both of the main layers sort of thing. So if I look, I'm going to make the lower end of the keyboard darker or make it brighter. But the top end of the keyboard, you're not really going to hear it very well, but here we go. If I go really high. So this is kind of a balance between the upper and lower keyboard, and it's kind of like filtering. So you can set your balance. And it's the same at the level. If I play lower down, I can turn the lower level down. So I might want the bass end of the keyboard a bit quieter. and the same at the top end. So you have an awful lot of control over how your sound is mixed. Next to that, we have the layer level, which I've just explained. If you're using dual layer, for example, now you're only hearing layer 2. And if I go to the lower layer and turn that down, you're not hearing anything. And if I go to single layer and turn up, so you kind of get how that works, right? So you've got your upper layer level and your lower layer level, but we're going to stick on single again. Master volume. This is over both layers. So if I switch dual back on, this will control master volume of the entire thing, right? You can also solo the layers there, depending if we're on dual again and we want to solo the upper layer, or we want to solo the lower layer. And don't forget, I turn the level down. So lower, upper, and blended, and back to single layer. You also have a split mode. You can change the split mode, but the split mode is initially set at, I think, C4. So, and it's obvious your upper layer will be in the upper mode and your lower layer will be in the lower mode of the keyboard. Cool. All right, let's go back to single mode. Then you have a limiter that you should have switched on. It's probably wise. Right, okay. Let's just go down to, what we won't do is, we won't look at this section just yet, okay? We'll look at this in a little bit when we create patches, but let's just look at this section. Now you can have up to 16 note polyphony. 8's usually fine, but it's up to you. You can go 16, 8, you can go 4. So, and it doesn't voice steal. So if I select the polyphony at 2 and play 2 notes, if I play another note now, nothing will happen. So it doesn't do voice stealing. But let's leave it on 8. In fact, let's leave it on 4 for this, because this might get a little bit louder. So I'm just going to turn the volume down here. You have unison mode, and you can choose if it's 8, 16, 4. Let's put it on 8. And of course, unison is going to be monophonic. Mono is just mono. Okay, so we're going to go back with poly. This is all dead easy stuff. Your pitch bend ribbon will, from wherever you start, and it's also hooked up to the pitch wheel on your, let's turn this back up now. It's also hooked up to the pitch wheel on your MIDI controller. This is linear. You can set it to semitones, and at the moment I think it's probably set on 2, so the maximum range will be 2 semitones. And then you can go up to 12 semitones. And then linear. And that's basically that. So moving along, we've been playing with the panel settings for the layers and the layer modes. Okay, so there you go. Let's reset this again so we can see the whole thing. So you should have a good idea of how this works. But the thing is, once we start to program patches, I'll be using all this stuff, so you'll get a further idea of how it works. Okay, we'll look at this in a sec. This is, in fact, I think probably we best look at this now. So here's our initial sound sort of thing. Let's go to focus and let's move down to this section. You have a wah, which is a filter basically. Next to this, you have your sustain control. Right now, you see, I have this switched on. This is the sustain pedal. If I hold my pedal and play some notes, you'll see they will sustain. They will sustain depending on how this is set. So if I have it very short, they won't sustain for long. If I have this really long, they'll sustain for ages. Now you can switch this off, right? And now this button controls how your sustain will react. So that's basically the same as the pedal. However, you have this switch here, and this will cut off all the notes apart from the last sustain one. And again, this depends on how long you... Okay? And this also works with the pedal. So if I switch the pedal on now and I sustain my pedal, let's have it on long. So I'm holding my sustain pedal down now and it's still cutting off the last notes, the previous notes before the last one. So I could play a chord, but as soon as I play more chords, it cuts off the previous notes that were played. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. Okie dokie, let's go back to 1, which is the most common one. I'm going to leave it on my pedal. Then we have portamento. So on portamento, if I go long, you get the idea. And if I switch it onto glissando and go long, what it will do is we'll play each note in... you know, just steps up the keyboard. So Vangelis used that quite a lot. Okay, you can also, if I switch this on now, and you'll see it's linked to my sustain pedal, you can also control the glissando and the portamento with sustain. So just playing normally, if I hold the sustain pedal, and also it works the same with portamento. If I switch it to portamento now and just play, no portamento until I hit sustain. Sustain pedal off, on. Superpowers, awesome. Right, okay, so that's brilliant. You can do all that cool stuff. Let's turn that off for a moment. Let's go back to, these are your effects. We'll get to them in a bit. Okay, so reset this and I am going to just hit new. And we're back to an initial patch. Right, let's go through the oscillator now. So let's start to like program a sound. You will see on a default patch, this just sits happily at the upper level on layer on rank 1, if you like, right? So let's zoom in and look at this. Here we go. Start there with the oscillator. Now, it creates sound in several different ways. Okay. You have initially this, and it's a saw wave and it's switched on. If I turn it off, we get nothing. We also have a square. We'll switch it off. You also have here, now this is important, these orange sliders, these are what you had on the GX one, not the CS80. So it's, like I said, it's a hybrid, a blend of those two synths, right? You can even change the filter type from the CS to the GX type. You didn't have any of this, so anything in orange you never had on the CS80. Okay, so nothing there. So you also have the ability to bring in a triangle wave here. So, and it's an octave above the square. You also have a saw. You also have a saw, a bandpass saw wave. Okay. and you can blend them all together like that. very nice. So you do have a lot of control. Let's switch on the square. You also have a high pass square. It's more like a pulse, but it's a square wave. Okay, and then you have your square wave. Both of these can have pulse width and pulse width modulation. So let's change the pulse width to this square. And the pulse width modulation, which is controlled by its own LFO here. And all of them can be blended together. In fact, all of them can be blended together. So let's turn these off. This won't make any difference unless you bring this in. Now, let me just switch this off one more time and turn off that triangle and go all the way along here to just after the filter. This here, in fact, I can show you this in a better way. Let me bring in this saw wave, basic saw wave. That saw wave and all those other parts of the oscillator pass through this VCF, this filter. So for example, if I focus a little bit there, if I bring this down here, the low pass filter, you see we're filtering that sawtooth wave now. If I turn the VCF level down, we get nothing. And after all of that, we get a sine wave, which you did have on the CS80. And it's unfiltered. But you can still make some really, really great sounds with sine waves. Don't forget, in the total, you've got 4 of them. So, for example, you could blend your other layers in and set them at different octaves and make some really cool sine wave stuff and then detune them. Right, okay, so let's go back to let's bring up our VCF. And let's look at the filters here as well. So now you won't hear a lot of difference there. Let's bring the low pass down. You have a resonance as well. But like I said, it's not going to be screaming resonance, you know. So difference between, I think the GX was a 9 dB per octave. So leave out in the CS for now. Then you have a mixture. You can blend in low, a high pass filter and a resonant high pass. Okay. Modulation, the modulation is slightly different. You have this IL here, which is initial level, and AL, which is attack level. What this will do, if I have this set here and I bring up the initial level, what it's going to do is it's going to blend, depending on how I have my ADR settings, it's going to push the filter from its low point to this point. So you hear that, right? And then the attack works the other way around. It goes from this point upwards. And then this is the amount, the speed of the envelope. So you get that very... It's already very cool, actually. And it's very easy to get, like I said, it's really easy to get that CS80 vibe. Now let's bring in some other stuff. Let's reset this a second, just have a look what's going on. Could bring in a little tiny bit of that. I'm going to focus in on our filter a moment. Now, one of the coolest things about the CS80, GX1 was the fact that you could invert the filters. Filtered envelope, sorry. Awesome stuff. So moving along after the filters, you have your standard VCA or ADSR kind of thing. So since we've got, looks like making a kind of a plucky sound now. Now you have a level, volume level, and you can also have the ability to pan each of these ranks, if you like, or synths left or right. So we're only using the one, so very nice. Okay, cool. Now the next part is the touch response. This is like velocity sensitivity. So I have this on 10. Turn this level down. We're now using velocity sensitivity. Let's turn the layer level up a little bit. So, and also you can do it with the brilliance. So this is the velocity sensitivity. Like I said, you must remember to turn the level down or you'll go louder, but this one will be fine. But if you want true velocity sensitivity, just and it's the same for the aftertouch, so you'll hear nothing now, right? Until I press the aftertouch. Let's do this. And the same for brilliant. So I'm pressing harder on the key. So the levels and stuff work like that. Let's bring our master level back. And let's look at bringing something in for layer 2. Making a few adjustments now to the envelopes. Both these envelopes. I'm gonna just reset this a second, make some adjustments here. Okay, let's look at the effects. You switch the effects on here. Let's switch the reverb on. And the first thing it'll come on is the Cherry Audio Galactic Reverb. You also have a plate. Let's put a little bit of let's put this on Galactic. And then we can bring in some delay as well. So just switch your delay on here and it'll light up here. It has that vibe. They've captured this perfectly. It's incredible. You can turn these layers on and off, these ranks on and off independently as well. So for example, and you'll see it'll grey out at the bottom there. Sorts of cool stuff. For example, you can do stuff like this. This is really nice when you do stuff like this, right? So you could say, okay, fine, I'm going to set my ring mod up like I said. No, don't worry about this, will go away in a sec, but I'm going to set the attack and decay time high. I'm going to have the depth quite high and the speed fast. Right, so let's switch the modulation, turn the modulation down now. We're back to this very cool sound. And then do stuff like this. Which is epic. I mean, you know, it's just blinking brilliant, that is. So it's that absolute classic CS80 sound, you know, that vibe. So if once you've created something, let's save this preset. I'm just going to hit save here. And I'm going to stick it in the keys category where I've stuck everything else. I'm going to call this, I don't know, more Vangelis, more V. Okay, so I'm going to click save because that was very kind of more Vangelis-ish. But if I was to go to my presets now and go like V, you see it's different. So you can see with this one I've used quite a lot of velocity stuff, some aftertouch stuff, and then you can do the same trick with this one, which was what I did earlier. So you'll notice if I press a key, it'll fade away because there's no sustain on the envelopes here. Guys, if you've watched this during a premiere, thank you very much. I hope it gives you a good idea of how you can just get in and start programming this stuff. You've got some other effects as well, but you get the idea. You literally just switch them on here, and then you can play around with them as much as you like. I am going to play out with the patches that I've made over the last couple of days while preparing this video. I love this synth. I love the GX-80. I think it's incredible. Guys, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Please consider becoming a patron, and I will see you guys later. Ta-ra!
Bye.